Hello, AP Psych. This is I don't even know what day it is. Who knows? It's week 3, in the middle of week 3. It is day 3 of clinical psychology. And today, as per our new list, which is subject to change, in fact, just got notice that Friday and Monday are off for Easter. So our next day in class would have been, this is Wednesday, would have been Friday, but now it's going to be Tuesday. I'll keep you updated on that. So today, our first day in clinical, we did intro to clinical and schizophrenia. Second day, we did anxiety. Today we do somatoform disorders, which is really fun stuff. So it's pretty weird. There's a lot of different kinds, but the whole family of disorders. Let me back up. I haven't yet written the Google Forms questionnaire that goes with this, but if I were you, I would probably bring that up now so that you can kind of fill that out as we're going. I just feel like that's going to be easier for you rather than having to go back. Just a little word of wisdom. If you want, or don't. Whatever, up to you. Is my mic seems good. Yeah, we're good. Cool. Anyway, somatoform disorders are a family of disorders that have physical symptoms with a psychological cause. You can think of them, so this wouldn't be included, but when you get stressed out, you might get a stomach ache or you might get a headache. Those are both physical symptoms that are caused by your mind. So that kind of a thing, except manifested a lot more seriously than just a stomach ache. So let's go. Here's the website. And if you go to AP Psychology, down to Clinical Psychology, then click on the Somatoform Disorders handout. That's what we're going to be walking through for this video. We're also going to be watching some YouTube videos, which are almost definitely going to get this copyright struck. I'm surprised it hasn't happened yet. We'll see. We'll make it work one way or another. I'll have to cut stuff out or upload it to a different place. Not sure, but we'll make it work. Okay, so here's the somatoform disorders. Make sure I'll move myself over a little bit here. Somatoform disorders, physical symptoms with a psychological cause. And starting with conversion disorder, which is fantastic. It's pretty bizarre. It's one of the weirdest disorders that's out there. I'm not going to bring up the DSM for it, but it is one major physical symptom with a psychological cause. Let me skip down a little bit to somatization disorder, which is like a lot of little conversion disorders. Somatization disorder would be one or maybe two large physical symptoms with a psychological cause. Now that I'm on video, I don't want to name specific people, which I would have otherwise, but I know now I need to be careful about what I say. That's funny how that changes things. I have a friend of mine who, I can't even say any of it now. That's a shame. Once I get back into school, remind me and I'll tell you the story, but I can't say it on video. It's funny. Anyway, it could be things like seizures. If you get seizures when you have a lot of stress, seizures can be caused by physical brain abnormality, and that wouldn't be conversion disorder. But if it's basically stress, it's manifesting itself in physical symptoms, that would then be conversion disorder. It gets really weird. Like you can be conversion blind, and blindness can be caused by 1,000 different reasons. But if your brain makes you blind, your eyeballs work just fine, and it gets very weird, like I've said. But your brain is blind, so you literally can't see, even though your eyes are open, but your eyes work fine. And one of the funny things is, best I understand it, is you're blind here, but oddly enough, your reflexes are actually controlled by your brainstem. You reflexively can still see, even if you're conversion blind. At least that's what I've been told. So if someone like threw a ball or book at you, you'd still dodge the ball, even though you were blind, which is just really bizarre. You can also have conversion paralysis. If you do YouTube search for conversion disorder, you'll get video after video after video. It gets pretty weird if you go down that rabbit trail. But we're going to watch a few of them. And if you've talked to AP Psych people in the past, you've probably heard about a few different things. One would be the El Camino guy, which we actually didn't watch, which was one of the A&E OCD videos, which is also a shame. But The other is this Desiree Jennings, the cheerleader, that can only walk. Well, let's talk a little bit more about conversion disorder, and then we will dive into the YouTube. So, conversion disorder is caused by one or two different things. I'm moving my phone is vibrating here. It is caused by, well, one or two or both of these things. So these are the kind of the causes for conversion disorder: primary gain or secondary gain. And your body unconsciously responds to these two things to create the conversion disorder. Primary gain is the actual situation that caused the disorder. It's the situation itself. And secondary gain is the attention you receive from the disorder. So primary gain, if you were in finals week and all of a sudden you started having seizures, that could be conversion disorder. And if your mind was unconsciously creating these seizures to avoid finals, now that's with the caveat that you're not faking it. If you're faking it, it's actually not conversion disorder. Again, super bizarre that conversion disorder has caveats. It's still called a thing if it is fake. Conversion disorder assumes that it's real. If it's fake, it's called either malingering or factitious. Now I'm kind of getting distracted, but if it's real, it's conversion disorder. And if your mind is unconsciously creating these seizures to get you out of the finals, that would be the primary gain for the conversion disorder. That's removing the environmental stimulus that caused the disorder in the first place. Or like if you're in the middle of a divorce, your girlfriend broke up with you, whatever, that's the primary gain. The secondary gain is the attention that you receive. So ironically, if someone at McGinnis were to start getting seizures, and then Sister Sanchez over the intercom said, let's all keep whoever in our prayers because they are going through whatever, that might actually make the conversion disorder worse if it was being fueled by secondary gain, because then that would play into the attention that they receive, making it worse, which we'll kind of talk about when we watch some of these YouTube videos. Now, conversion disorder is if it's real. If it's fake, it's still one of these two things. Just funny that the DSM still has a disorder for a faked disorder. Very bizarre. If it's faked for primary gain, that's called malingering. So malingering is faked for primary gain. Factitious is faked for secondary gain. An example would be like malingering. If you are faking seizures so that you don't have to take your final, malingering. If you are faking seizures so that you can get money somehow, malingering. If you're faking seizures so you don't have to go into work, or faking being blind, whatever, malingering. Factitious would be faking a conversion disorder so that people will feel sorry for you. There's a scene in Sixth Sense, and there's a lot of spoilers you can say about Sixth Sense, which I will not say, but one of the scenes is there's a kid that died. I don't feel like that's a spoiler because they deal with that really soon in the movie, which is a fantastic movie, by the way. I don't know if I can well, I love the movie. But there's a kid that died, and he died because I wonder if I'm getting this right. Died because the babysitter was feeding the child poison so that she could stay employed, I guess. That would be malingering. Conversion, either way, is conversion disorder by proxy. So, or the by proxy is conversion disorder, but you're placing it on somebody else. There's a name for it. It used to be called Munchausen syndrome, that's right. That could also be if there is a parent who purposefully or kind of subconsciously intentionally keeps their child sick so that they can receive some sort of a benefit, or that their friends feel sorry for them so they can play the victim. That would be conversion by proxy, which is a particularly twisted kind of a thing, but that's also a thing. Before we go on to the other ones, let's go ahead and watch some videos on conversion disorder, which is a major physical symptom with a psychological cause. First up, there's a lot to go over on this clip. And between these two clips, I'm sure I'll get some sort of copyright strike, but we'll see if that happens or not. All I'm just going to play the whole clip. I'm going to play the entire clip without talking, and we'll talk about it afterwards. 2 minutes, 18 seconds. Let me move myself out of the way here and mute my mic. And
now, this is a story of an amazingly beautiful young woman. She was training to be a pro football cheerleader, and she got a flu shot. She says that shot has destroyed her chances of happiness. We told you about her story last time. Now, Les Trent is with this woman for a first-hand look at what her life has become.
She's the beautiful cheerleader whose heartbreaking story is shocking the nation. 25-year-old Desiree Jennings showed me how she can't walk without twisting, jerky movements. But she walks backwards normally. Doctors say she has a rare 1 in a million neurological disorder that was triggered 10 days after she got a seasonal flu shot.
Started with me not being able to eat without passing out.
You couldn't eat without passing out?
I visited Desiree and her husband Brendan at their home in Ashburn, Virginia, to see what their daily life is like. She has to go up and down stairs backwards because something as simple as walking forward can be dangerous.
And here's the unusual part about the disorder. Take a look at this. Desiree can run just fine. It's only when she stops. You see, that's where the spasms start. Now, you can walk backwards, though, and it'll make it better, right?
Yeah.
She runs with a normal stride. And as I ran with her, she even spoke normally.
And now you can talk.
Yeah, it's weird. It fixes as soon as I start running.
I mean, you sound
I know, it's great, isn't it?
you sound amazing. And then you stop, and that's what happens.
Desiree got a flu shot on August 23rd. 10 days later, she came down with what doctors have diagnosed as dystonia, a rare neurological disorder. Her jerking and twisting are the result of uncontrollable muscle contractions. There is no known cure.
Are y'all ready?
Yes.
This is home video of Desiree as a beautiful bride when she married Brendan 2 years ago. And this is a photo when she was training to be a cheerleader for the Washington Redskins. Doctors say what happened to Desiree should discourage people from getting flu shots. But here's what the woman who's on the wrong side of being 1 in a million says.
Running has to be a relief.
No one said it has left.
Test. There we go. All right, so I just did a big old YouTube copyright no-no and played an entire video, which I'm sure will cause all sorts of flags to go off on YouTube. But we're going to talk about it. So, first of all, I've showed this video. There's a lot of things to talk about here. I've showed this video. Let's back up. And this is what I always ask about this girl. So this girl was trained to become a NFL cheerleader. She just got married. So on the surface, it looks like her life's going pretty good. And let me say as a disclaimer, this could be what they claim that it is. There's a lot of reasons why it causes me to think it's probably not what they say that it is, and it's probably something more like conversion disorder. Some of that pieces of evidence you don't know yet. But the first thing I ask in a full room of students on this clip is it possible that she did have some sort of a negative reaction to the flu shot? Because that is in the realm of possibility. Is that possible? And yes, it is possible you can have a negative reaction to really a lot of things. And very rare, but sure. Now that being said, would you think that in her case, she can only move backwards but not forwards? And if she did have some sort of a movement-related issue, you would think that would affect her equally backwards and forwards. It's also important to point out that she got better after a week or two, and she got better because of the help of a controversial doctor who since had his medical license revoked. It's funny now that I'm saying these things on video. It adds other weight to what I'm saying, but and he essentially did things like putting her in a hyperbaric chamber, which is just a chamber with increased air pressure, and giving her fluids, and that's what allowed her to be better. With conversion disorder, actually, placebo treatments work particularly well because, I should back up again, conversion disorder does not mean fake. So if this was conversion disorder, it is uncontrollable by her. If you said, dude, you're clearly faking it, I'll give you $1 million if you can just stop it. If it was real conversion disorder, she would not be able to stop it because it's not fake. But it's also, if that is true, not caused by the flu shot. It's caused by her mind. And again, I can't prove that, but there's lots of evidence that points to be that way. One of the funny things, which I actually didn't notice for a few years while showing this clip, is this piece right here.
Doctors say what happened to Desiree should discourage people from getting flu shots.
So think about that sentence right there. What was that sentence? The sentence, as they want you to know what it was, is doctors say what happened to Desiree should discourage people from getting flu shots. Let's back up again.
Ray should discourage people from getting flu shots. Should discourage people from getting flu shots.
Just think it's interesting that the video was doctored. The original clip said, doctors say what happened to Desiree shouldn't discourage people from getting flu shots. But the person that uploaded this video apparently doesn't want people to get flu shots and took the "nt" out of that word, that sentence. So watch the video in the middle of that sentence.
Desiree should discourage people from getting flu shots.
So that's interesting. So anyway, that's one possible thing it could be, would be something like a conversion disorder. And there's other videos that you can look at that talk about this particular case being possibly a conversion disorder. Here's a second one, which is a little bit different. Very interesting. I remember watching this live on the Today Show, and unfortunately I can't find the Today Show clip anymore. They must have taken it down. But there is in Leroy, New York, which is northern New York, there were actually a group of girls that all got a similar illness. So it was like 12 girls, I think it was all girls, at the same high school, who mostly ran in the same friend group, who all got these like twitches, which are not consistent with normal Tourette's, but it kind of seemed like that. So, well, anyway, here we won't watch this whole 8-minute clip. We'll just kind of skip around.
One school, 12 teenage girls, and a very disturbing medical mystery. Uncontrollable twitches and tics developed overnight, and no one knows why. One doctor says
girl
it's
kinda
a
has
stress-induced disorder.
neck twitch,
One
and
of
this
the
girl
girls
has a
and her
little
mother say
hand
no way. They want answers
deal.
and they want help, and they're right here talking about it. Tonight, teen girl.
October, everything changed.
I couldn't stop stuttering.
The stuttering had, I mean, took over, you know, really contorting on the left side of, you know, with her mouth and her neck.
The doctors told Farah her condition was brought on by stress and she would get better.
Which
but
would
once
mean conversion
the stuttering
disorder.
ended, it soon gave way to uncontrollable twitching.
And mom, understandably, if you hear doctors say it's psychosomatic, which, by the way, is the same thing as saying it's a somatoform disorder, or saying it's caused by stress, it sounds like you're saying, yeah, your daughter's making it up, or your daughter's weak, that kind of thing. That's not what it means, obviously, but it's hard to digest that. It's a lot easier to digest something like it was caused by some toxin in the environment, which is possible. But they did test for that, and they found negative results for any sort of toxins. So the doctors were saying at that point that it was stress-induced. So that could be a variant of it called, I don't know if it's an official word, but mass hysteria, where it's almost like a contagious conversion disorder. On another side note, how many minutes are we at? 18 minutes. Another funny thing about disorders in general is that they can be kind of contagious. And obviously disorders are not contagious, but you might find, or at least a lot of my students have found, that when we start talking about things like this, when we start talking about anxiety disorders, we start talking about schizophrenia, it sort of amplifies those symptoms in yourself because you become more aware of it. And one of the funny things about disorders is, of course, disorders are genetic, because virtually everything is. But in addition to being genetic, if you have friends with schizophrenia, you're more likely to develop schizophrenia, which doesn't make any sense, except just the more exposure you have to symptoms, you're more likely to develop those symptoms. Just kind of a funny environmental cause there. Let's move on down so that's conversion disorder. Hopefully nothing inappropriate will come up and I'll have to cut this, but let me type in we're not going to look at this. If I type in conversion disorder, you can get all sorts of case studies. Well, looks like it's mostly people talking about it, but at least in the past, you've seen case after case of people talking about my story, things like that. about their own conversion disorder. Let's go back. Okay, so somatization disorder. And actually, there won't be much more to talk about. This probably end up being a maybe 30 or less minute video. Somatization disorder is a lot of smaller physical symptoms, a long list of physical symptoms. That'd be, and technically, it's really interesting what they require you to have for this. But the DSM, at least as of when I wrote this handout, said you have to have 4 pain symptoms, 2 GI symptoms, 1 sexual symptom, 1 pseudoneurological symptom. And for example, it hurts in this place, this place, this place, and this place. Like 2 GI symptoms would be like diarrhea or whatever. 1 sexual symptom like erectile dysfunction, whatever. And pseudoneurological, like I can't feel my hand, something like that. So if you have all this big list of symptoms, that could be somatization disorder. And these would all be real symptoms caused by your mind. Hypochondriasis. And a lot of you have probably heard of this already. Being a hypochondriac is hypochondriasis, a person that has hypochondriasis. That's people that think that they're sick when they're not. That's the WebMD disorders. That's when you get in fact, there's always a new freckle. There's one. I can't really, anyway. If you look at a new freckle on your arm and you say, oh, this one's dark. So you Google WebMD, new dark freckle. And what's that going to come up with? Of course, skin cancer. So all of a sudden you think you have terminal skin cancer, you have 6 months to live, and you're convinced of it. Or, this is a terrible time for hypochondriacs because you start sniffing, or you feel a little hot, or you sneeze, and you're convinced you have the corona. The corona has overtaken you. Terrible time to be a hypochondriac right now. In fact, I'm sure the hospitals are just being flooded with people that are convinced they have corona. And in states that test a lot, I think you're typically I've seen a 93% negative rate. So people that think they have corona enough to actually go get tested for corona, overwhelmingly they don't have corona. So just interesting there. But people that are hyper aware of the illnesses that they have. Pain disorder. Pain disorder is kind of self-evident in the name. Pain disorder is feeling pain, physical pain, but caused by your mind. There was a guy that actually graduated from McGinnis that came up to me several years ago. I won't say his name, obviously. But he said that he was bullied in elementary school. And kids threw rocks at him in elementary school. That's really mean. Kids are mean. But rocks that hurt, obviously, they cause physical pain. But he said when he would get made fun of at McGinnis, in any way, or anything negative happened to him at McGinnis, he would physically feel the rocks being thrown at him again. So I don't know how much of a pain disorder that actually is, but that would be an instance of physical pain not caused by physical stimulus, but caused by your mind. And finally, body dysmorphic disorder, which is a super interesting disorder. It's funny that it's included in somatoform disorders and not next to the eating disorders, because to me it almost seems more in the vein of eating disorders. But body dysmorphic disorder is, and usually before, as another side note, before I start talking about body dysmorphic disorder, I'll go to the class and I'll say, don't raise your hand. Although you can, because no one's watching you right now. But raise your hand if you feel totally satisfied with your body, the physical appearance of your body 100% of the time. And almost nobody does. Everybody has their insecurities. And usually when someone raises their hand, it'll be like it's always guys in the room, and they'll raise their hand. And maybe they're telling the truth, maybe they're not, I don't know. But overwhelmingly, probably at least 90+% of people are dissatisfied with their body in some way, some of the time. But that's not what this is. This is a delusional belief about one specific part of your body. So, sure, in fact, people with eating disorders might think that they're overweight when they're not, and they would have some sort of a delusion about their body size, and that is an issue. But that wouldn't be body dysmorphic disorder. Body dysmorphic disorder would be thinking one specific part of your body, usually your face, but not always your face, is so unbelievably ugly or malformed or grotesque that it causes you extreme anxiety to go in public because of it. So that'd be like thinking that your nose is so big that you kind of try and cover up your nose anytime you can because you don't want people seeing your nose. and it'll cause a lot of things. So one, it'll cause you to maybe not go out because you don't want people to see your nose. And it doesn't have to be your nose. It could be your ears. It could be bags under your eyes. It could be your hair loss. It could be anything, really. And in fact, even if you think that you fixed that thing, it will move to something else. Just like general anxiety disorder, if you fix the thing that you're anxious about, your mind will shift to something else. So you can't fix it unless you fix the underlying mental issue. But you also, it can lead to people that seem very vain and self-involved because they'll check the mirror multiple times every day. But it's kind of the opposite of being vain. You're very nervous about that part of yourself. It can also lead to doing a lot of plastic surgery. A lot of people think Michael Jackson probably had body dysmorphic disorder. One of the guys from Modern Family, the guy the young guy that dated the girl, this is a terrible description, but the actual actor had body dysmorphic disorder. He talks about it in a lot of YouTube videos. But it's being very concerned about one specific part of your body, and it is a delusion. But that is pretty much it for this. The next day, which I guess will be Tuesday at this point, we will wrap up all of clinical, and we will take a quiz, which obviously is going to be open note. We're at 26 minutes now. But that's all I have. So if you have any questions, we're going to have a Zoom meeting at 1 o'clock as usual. That's it. So hope everything is doing well for yourselves and your families, and I'll see you next time.